Hello and welcome back to Retfurb. On this video we have a Pioneer SX-450 stereo receiver from the 1970s. I'm going to do a quick operation test to make sure it's operating okay, and then we can look at doing a quick bit of maintenance and anything else that needs doing. So let's get to the video and let's check it's working okay.
That's alright then. I should text him later and make sure.
I've been told off then. When we come back, we'll have the team news for Manchester United to go near.
Important team selection, this will be.
Team selection, and we'll get your views on Man United.
Okay.
Right? All that and more. I say more, it's not more, just all that actually. In the last section of our show, live on Drive on TalkSport.
Drive on TalkSport with Motorpoint. New cars arriving weekly.
For you, it's particularly exciting to research at the moment. I think it's exciting because we're now seeing from these mechanisms and we are now talking.
So the main things picked up on the test were pretty minimal. The controls had a bit of scratchy noise when operated and the front display doesn't seem to be illuminated enough. I'm also going to be giving the outside an overhaul, which includes recovering the side wood panels and retexturing the lid of the unit. So I'm going to get straight into doing the wood panels first. So as you can see, the outer veneer finish is just peeling off. Obviously this is just from age. So what I'm going to do here is peel all that part off, and then I'm going to make up some new sections out of sticky back vinyl, which has got a wood finish, similar to what I've done on other YouTube videos. It's a nice easy way to just tidy it up and make it look nice and fresh again. So you can see the other side's the same as well. There is a little bit of damage underneath, so I'm going to remove that part and then cover that with a wood film as well. So now you can see that I've pre-cut this film ready to go on. Now obviously I could just put it on and trim it to the panel, but I thought it would be easier to pre-cut it this way. Just makes it a lot easier to fit, but you can obviously do this and trim it yourself without actually pre-cutting it. It's just going to be a lot harder when you've got to do those circles around the holes for the screws. So you can see straight away, just putting that one piece on, how good it looks. And now we just got to replicate that around the panel. And then once all the sides are done, then it'll be ready to go back on. Now this side doesn't matter too much because you only see a small amount of it, but I just covered the whole bit. You only see sort of the rear edge, I think, where the controls are at the back, and maybe a tiny little bit on top. So now let's move into the inside of the unit. You can see that it's quite dusty and dirty in here, but we're going to look at the bulbs first. So I'm going to start getting this bulb out. In a minute you'll see the bulb which is working. There's actually only one working. For some reason I didn't show it before I started doing this, but I do turn it on in a minute and you'll see that the left bulb is the only one that is actually working. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace all three of them because obviously I don't want any sort of difference in brightness. So just to be easier, I'm just going to change all three of them and then they'll all look uniform. So you can see there that the left bulb is the only one that's working. So these bulbs are all soldered in. So you've got to remove all the solder joints first before you can replace the new bulb. Now I'm just prepping up the wires with a bit of solder just to get them ready to accept the new bulb. And then also putting a bit of solder on the side of the bulb itself. Now it would have made it a lot easier if I had something to hold all this together, but as usual I've decided to do it the most difficult way. Now this is a pretty simple job. If you can do a bit of basic soldering, this is pretty easy. Obviously you don't want the machine plugged in or anything at the time. It's obviously disconnected from the mains. And then once the soldering's done, we can just check the bulbs are all working okay, and then plug it in. But you don't want to be doing it whilst you've got it plugged in. You don't want to be doing any sort of soldering work. and again onto the other bulb again, desoldering the original joints, and then just prepping the new bulb to accept the new solder, and then we can put that into the unit and connect that up to the wires. So again, I'm using my Milwaukee soldering iron for this one. It was actually running out of battery at the time, so I was sort of trying to rush to get it done before it ran out. I have got some spare batteries, but I thought I would just try and get it done quick before, and then save having to go and change it over. Just being lazy, really. So you can see there that the bulbs are now all working, but you can straight away see the difference in the brightness from the bulb that I'm now removing. So now just to do this bulb, this is the final one now. This one took a little bit of getting out this rubber for some reason. It was a little bit tighter, so I just had to sort of lever it out to remove it. And that's the soldering all done, so now we can seat that back into the rubber mount and then push it back into the unit. So now I'm just going to go over and give it a good service clean inside before we move on to the next step. Just going over this very lightly. Obviously I don't want to disrupt any sort of components or anything like that, so I've got a nice soft brush that I just go around with and the hoover, and just remove most of the loose dust and dirt. And now we can look at removing all the buttons and knobs. These just pull off, and then we can get the front fascia panel removed. You can see there that button is missing part of the outer casing, so that will be replaced. And again, just going over the hoover before I remove the front panel. So front panel, to get that off, there's two nuts that are on either ends, one on the volume knob and one on the on and off knob, and then there's two screws at the top, which are just crosshead screws, Phillips type, and then the panel can be removed. And then again we can get the hoover out and just go over very carefully at the front. Obviously I don't want to do any damage to the needle or any other components on the front. And then just giving it a quick wipe off as well, while it's all out. So now I've got some deoxit as usual. I'm just going to go over all the controls, all the potentiometers, just clean them up, spray it inside and just move the controls and operate them and make sure that it's getting in correctly, lubricating them and cleaning the area. So now all the controls are cleaned with the deoxit, they're all working okay. So now I'm going to move on to the front panel and just give that a good clean. Just go over it lightly with a bit of solvent-based degreaser just on some of the areas. I don't want to go over the text too much of that. And then I can look at going over some polish and polish up the glass and polish up on all the metal faces. And then we can look at getting that fitted back on. So again, the same as what we did to remove it, two screws at the top and then the two nuts either side on the volume control and the on and off knob. And then now I can get the lid put back on. You can see here I've actually retextured it, so I sanded it down and then gave it a coat of texture finish just to replicate the original look and give it a nice fresh clean appearance. And now we can look at getting those side panels put back on that were covered earlier on in the video. So you can see straight away just how good this is now looking, how it's coming together, what a difference it makes just from some simple tasks. And now I can look at cleaning the rear again with some polish, just wiping around all the controls, just getting in all the little crevices as best I can, and just cleaning it out and making it look nice and fresh again. And now the unit's all back together, we can now do a quick test and make sure that it's all operating okay.
It's a Christmas full of sport, and to celebrate Paddy Power, have a free bet.
Young Tyros and
Liverpool versus Manchester United live today for £11.99. No.
So as you can see from the demo, it's all working okay now. There's no issues of any sort of scratchiness on any of the controls. You can see that I've replaced the volume knob. I actually swapped over the volume knob for the main control for the on and off switch, purely because the new button that I bought, although it looks very similar, it's not exactly the same, and it doesn't cover the nut that's underneath. So it looks okay, it serves the purpose. But you can see the rest of the unit looks brilliant. Everything sort of comes together nicely, the nice wood covered sides, the texture on top, and now the front's all nice and clean. So yeah, another successful refurb, and it's ready to sit in pride of place in someone's home. Thanks for taking the time to watch the video. I hope you enjoyed it. Please like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.